of the day.
Hello, everyone. So we have a great panel today. We're going to be talking about why build on the MetaPlex standard, as well as kind of what is it, how you can get started, and some things that the community has been doing and learning in the space. So with that, I'll do a first round of introductions. I'll let each person talk about who they are, how they came to MetaPlex, and then we can jump right in on some of the topics we have. So first, we'll start with Irvin.
Yeah, hey guys, really excited to be here. My name is Irvin. I'm a co-founder of OpenDie Technologies, and we build a lot of things related to gaming on top of MetaPlex and Solana, like OpenEra, an MMORPG, Kiyomi, which is an augmented reality wallet with a social experience, and a few of the things that you guys will see over there if you walk to our booth. And I'm also an advisor to MetaPlex.
Hey guys, my name is Birdman. I started Thugbirds 7 months ago. Thugbirds is built on MetaPlex. Free candy machine, so yeah, I've been around for a long while, seen MetaPlex grow, and I'm happy to be here.
Hey everyone, my name is Noah. My Twitter handle is TechnoTechKid. I'm a big DeGod bag holder, also part of the JIT DAO, which is a sub-community of DeGods. This is my first week at MetaPlex actually, and I'm coming from, thank you, and I'm coming from Polygon, so you know, like Solana has the better vibes obviously, so that's why I'm here. Alright.
Hey, I'm Sean J, aka Nighthawk on Twitter. This is actually my first week at MetaPlex as well. We don't have the same starting day. This is my first venture full-time into Web3. I just left my Web2 job in healthcare last Friday. So I am a developer for MetaPlex, full stack JavaScript, and now I am venturing into Rust as well.
Very cool. So please welcome everyone to the stage. With that, so a lot of you are new to MetaPlex, whether you're working there, but you guys have been developing and kind of like building in the space for a bit. One of the questions that I always get is, like, how would you describe MetaPlex as someone who's new to the Solana ecosystem? I would love to hear how you guys talk about it and kind of just how do they react to that?
I'd say for everything that you do, you need to have a standard. You want to write a paper, you're probably going to open Microsoft Word. You want to do something with photo editing, you're probably going to go to Photoshop. In the beginning, there is only one. You know, the others will come later. You know, now you have your Google Docs and, you know, maybe free versus purchase items. But I think that, oh, I want to create an NFT on Solana. This would be your top Google search result. And you know, the more that's returned on the Google search results, that becomes the standard for everybody else to build on.
I would describe MetaPlex as like synonymous with NFTs on Solana. So if anyone ever asks, I'm just like, MetaPlex basically is like NFTs on Solana. So any questions you have related, any technical questions related, just like go onto the MetaPlex documentation or like check out the Discord.
Yeah, I think, you know, aside considering NFTs, the way that I usually tell people what MetaPlex is by telling them kind of like a story. You know, I tell them, look, imagine that you want to build a way to kind of record digital assets in the metaverse, or the virtual space. So how do you do that? Well, we're talking about, you know, the digital space. That means we gotta build something. We're gonna write code, right? We gotta perhaps write a way that these assets or things could be recorded in digital space. And so how do we do this, right? Well, maybe perhaps we create a standard or protocol to kind of do this, right, in the digital space. And that's what MetaPlex protocol is. Okay, so that's fine and all. So if you guys go ahead and create a protocol, how are you gonna get people to use it? Right? How are you gonna get products to integrate and implement it? Well, you have to evangelize it. You have to get people on board, right? That's MetaPlex Studios. But what about the development or further integration or open sourcing of this quote-unquote new way to record digital assets in the virtual space? Well, you have builders, developers, and that's what essentially MetaPlex Foundation does. It supports kind of the development of the quote-unquote protocol to record digital assets. enhanced NFTs. That's kind of like the way that I explain to people, or at least try to convey what MetaPlex is and encompasses.
That's awesome. And then when you're thinking about building projects, and Birdmon, this is a great question for you, is like, why did you guys choose MetaPlex? Like, what made it so exciting to kind of jump in and leverage some of the programs that MetaPlex had?
Yeah, so when we started, it was still like pre-candy machine era. And like, she was right. If you look up Solana NFTs, MetaPlex is the first and only thing really that pops up. I remember the early like MetaPlex repo was like the store that you could fork and then make like auctions. That's the first one I set up, and so that's how I got to know MetaPlex. Obviously, Candy Machine was a big innovation that once MetaPlex integrated it, NFTs on Solana really took off. I mean, you can go look at like the early graph of number of supply on NFTs, and you can see like the Degen Apes, and then the SMBs, and then Thugbirds, and then Candy Machine, and it just goes like straight up. So yeah, I would say you build on MetaPlex because there's nothing else really. I guess you have to use it.
That's a common question you definitely get, which I love hearing it, and I love that we're still like the top search result that you get in Solana. And one of the best things about the Solana ecosystem and community is that the community is so strong in helping others find the path on how to build. So the next question I have is like, how does the MetaPlex community make it easy for developers to build and welcoming them into the Solana ecosystem?
Like it also comes, I guess, with your previous question, right? Like, why MetaPlex? And like, initially, when you think about, how the world of Ethereum or any EVM compatible chains have really approached the notion of non-fungible tokens through NFTs, it hasn't really focused particularly on the technology itself. But as we now know, the notion of non-fungible tokens really impacts creators. So digital artists, people working in the physical art. And so then the question is, how to create an ecosystem or tooling that a lot of these artists or creators can use and leverage to perhaps, earn a better income. So, like what I'm referring to is that within the MetaPlex, for example, MetaPlex ecosystem, MetaPlex has provided various tools to kind of allow a lot of these creators to kind of come on board, be able to develop or integrate or use non-fungible tokens. And so, going back to your previous question, right? When you think about, for example, like the current stage or status or what happens with non-fungible tokens, it's very centralized. Like, we're still focused on the notion of marketplaces. It's a centralized concept. You essentially have a buyer and a seller, and then you have a broker, which is marketplace. But how do we kind of get rid of these monolithic structures, right? Well, we get back to the creator. We give power back to the creator. And so, for example, with MetaPlex, you can go ahead and launch your own storefront. And so that means that the artist or the creator can go ahead and mint their own NFTs. They can host their own storefront. They could be on their own or perhaps to Holoplex, and then create their own community. That's more decentralized, right? And that's kind of like what's better or more interesting and attractive about MetaPlex, and that's really a huge value proposition. But you have things like Candy Machine, as Birdmon mentioned, and an entire like support really from the team and also the community to kind of come on board and build on top of MetaPlex.
That's a really great answer. And one of the other things I always think about is like new people coming into the space, like what's the best piece of advice that you all would give them on how to get started with their project, with their early stages, like getting into MetaPlex?
I would ask them like if it's a developer or if it's just an artist or something looking to create NFTs. Generally, people hear NFTs and they just want to make NFTs. They don't really think about different types of projects or different types of art or whatever. So if it's a developer, I would encourage them to just like fork the latest MetaPlex repo and go through the docs and play around with it, set up a store, set up a candy machine, whatever. If it's not a developer, I would advise them to find one or go for like something built on top of MetaPlex, like Holoplex, right? That's a little bit easier for the layperson to like be able to use. So, yeah.
And Sarah, what would you suggest if you're like a developer how to get back to the MetaPlex community and contributing open source code?
Early on, whenever I started working with MetaPlex, I encountered a lot of blocks because I was using large video files. And my first foray into doing MetaPlex code was figuring out how I could get over the, at the time, 10 megabyte file size upload limit, basically get my project deployed. So, I'm in the Discord, I'm searching, nobody really has the answers. And then I find other developers who are also, using video files, having the same issue. And, one of them messages me, Balsamic, he's a thug bird holder. And he is, very gracious. He was like, hey, bundler, L2RW solution, I took his code that he shared with me, was able to, buying RWeave was a pain, funding the bundler and figuring all that stuff out was a pain. But then, anything that you can fix in the candy machine that you have created custom, somebody else might benefit from that as well. All that, hard work and blood, sweat, and tears, you might save somebody a lot of time. And the trick is to not be selfish about it. Open source it, share your code. It's all learning. Nobody is an expert in Web3. If you think you are, then congratulations. I certainly am not. But people appreciate that. You give back, and it will inspire others to give back, and not be afraid to learn in public. Learning in public is sometimes stressful, and people sometimes shy away from that.
So I love that you contribute so much to like fixing a lot of the issues that developers are facing. Since you were trying to work on your own projects and running into those issues, what positive impacts has MetaPlex made in conjunction with some of these other projects that you guys have been involved in? Anyone, so like whether it's Candy Machine. So the question was, what positive impact has MetaPlex made in conjunction with any of your projects? For you, Bergman would probably be Candy Machine or leveraging some of the other things out there.
Yeah, I mean, MetaPlex, they throw a lot of these events, right? I think this is a great way that they add value to the whole ecosystem is by attracting a bunch of people and getting them together and getting people to share a lot of knowledge at events like these. Beyond that, obviously, the value created by MetaPlex is billions of dollars of wealth in the whole NFT market cap on Solana, right? So I think, it's definitely a very valuable tool, and the whole ecosystem would be nowhere without it. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think, okay, so regardless, the tech is really amazing, right? The fact that essentially MetaPlex and Solana took the lessons learned from the NFT ecosystem on Ethereum. For example, MetaPlex considers multiple creators actually being on a single NFT. It considers royalties right from the beginning. It's a game changer, right? Nobody was thinking about this, for how many years? It's a huge thing, right? But aside of the tech, I think, if you guys watched Silicon Valley, I was talking to Austin Federo, or at the beginning of the show, everyone was like, and we're building blah, 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 XYZ, changing the world, right? Solo Mo. And I think there's a lot of blockchains doing this, and you kind of see the tech, and they have really good tech. But, besides the tech, really what's really impactful is the team and the people that are behind MetaPlex. So folks like Chris, for example, who give us feedback on what we're developing. Danny, Alexandra, who's over there working in marketing, or Sarah, who came in and is building on top of it. I think that's really where the most of the impact comes from. And you see these folks around here talking to everyone and getting feedback towards creators and also builders.
Yeah, I think many people have had MetaPlex change their lives in crazy ways. So, I'm sure having a Met sell out has, flipped their world upside down and giving them a platform they never dreamed of. So that's awesome.
That's awesome. The other thing is MetaPlex has impacted so many people's lives, and when I think about the future of MetaPlex, I'd love to hear how you guys see MetaPlex impacting the future of NFTs, right? How will it evolve, or how do you think it will evolve to support more innovative use cases, either in your space today or others?
So I think one big thing about what made Candy Machine so crazy from my perspective is I was seeing all the projects who wanted to launch had to make their own Candy Machine in order to launch, and all of them were failing. So when that happens, teams are spending resources on doing the exact same thing over and over again, and for an ecosystem that's stupid. So like MetaPlex exists so that they build one candy machine that everyone can use and work on top of it. And so similarly, I think right now what's missing probably is integration with like games, making it super easy for existing games to just get onboarded on Solana. I would guess something like that, or related to NFTs being integrated into other, beyond what they are right now, just like a candy machine mint. I think MetaPlex will probably eventually add infrastructure that makes it super easy for people like game developers to hook up to like the MetaPlex library and access NFT related stuff.
So, I mean, I'm like pretty deep into MetaPlex. So, look, we're in this kind of ecosystem that we call Web3, right? And Web3 is about decentralization, okay? It's not about middlemen or brokers. And so when I think about MetaPlex and what's coming, it's really about increasing decentralization, right? Removing that middleman. Things like Auction House, for example, where you can actually go ahead and create auctions immediately, or stateless bids or offers on NFTs, which means we don't need a marketplace, right? Or things like the up-and-coming Raindrops protocol built on top of MetaPlex, which essentially allows games to build interoperable NFTs. And that's what I see where MetaPlex is going, and hopefully this kind of standard and the way that we interact and build NFTs will be adopted by other blockchain ecosystems.
That's awesome. So I love that you guys are thinking about the future of NFTs and how the ecosystem will be shaped. What are some innovative projects that are popping up that are leveraging MetaPlex today that you guys are looking at, excited about, excited to see how they'll change NFT space? I'd love to hear from you guys, like, what are your favorite projects in the space, and just so people can just check them out and kind of learn some more about it.
Can we show our own project? Okay, so if you guys want to see some of the things we're building on MetaPlex and the innovation happening in there, you can check out our booth, which is right there with Vegan Trash Pandas. We're collaborating with them on gaming. But in particular, what we focus within gaming is not only a game, but also we're building a wallet that is product-driven and user-driven. So we think as NFTs as the next way for interacting socially. So imagine being able to mint or airdrop NFTs in Times Square. What does that mean? Imagine collaborating with music artists or music NFTs with audio, visual, or spatial NFTs and creating new experiences. This is what we're building on top of MetaPlex for a wallet called Fiona. And this is what we're going for. So if you want to check it out, we're over there at the corner with the Vegan Trash Pandas. Come get some free swag, stickers, and maybe some secret prizes.
Secret prizes? That sounds like an airdrop.
I would say a project that I heard about recently that is kind of exciting. It's called Scapes. It's kind of a small project, but I'm familiar with the founder, and he was running me by this idea of being able to disassemble an NFT by attribute, and then essentially like the possibilities that come from that. Like maybe being able to sell off like a rare attribute, or like a common attribute, swapping attributes, like building up like a giga, like ultra rare NFT. So like that kind of stuff, MetaPlex is really interested in like helping out those developers like build that out. So yeah, I think that there's a lot of like developers outside of MetaPlex who are focused on really driving the innovation with the token metadata. And one more NFT collection that I think is really innovative is DeGods. They recently announced this like new collection that is essentially the same collection. It's called Dead Gods, where they actually changed the token metadata, and essentially all the holders of DeGods were allowed to collect dust by staking their NFT, and then after they had accumulated 1,000 dust, were then able to turn their DeGod into a Dead God, and essentially these like change the token metadata, and like the new Dead Gods are just like this super upgraded, super like beautiful new version of like DeGods. And yeah, like it's just like projects like this that are like pushing the boundaries of what we can do with NFTs, what we can do with like the MetaPlex standard. That's why I'm so like deeply in love with the ecosystem.
So my favorite project and the hardest workers that I know, sitting right here, Groovies NFT, and the Groovies guys. They absolutely, bust their butts. I don't know if I could say anything else than but so they just work hard and they want to provide as much utility as possible. And it's a small team, and to build out utility in a small team, they're hustling. And I think what they've already built, they were the first people I knew to put music in the background with their NFTs. Back in November and December. Now it's not as new, and they continue to build. And you guys should go and mint a Groovy right now after this panel and help support them. And I think that they will be innovative in the gaming space as well. And I think that they have big plans for the projects that they want to build and implement.
So there's two projects out of ours that should be given a shout out to. The first one is DJ and Trash Pandas, and their booth is over there. And the second one is Thugbirds. So it's a bit of an alpha, but perhaps there's something related to gaming that you guys have to keep an eye for, but we'll keep it under wraps. It's up to you to do a bit of research, but keep an eye out.
That's awesome. So you all got a little bit of alpha from the panelists today. I have one last question just for the audience. Where can people find you guys on social media? Where can they follow you? How can they learn more about what you guys are building and keep in touch?
My panel tomorrow will be better.
So you guys can follow me on Twitter at IrvinXYZ, but come to our booth and check out what we're building. Kiyomi Wallet is one of them. We're Kiyomi Wallet on Twitter, and Open Era HQ. It's our game, but let's talk.
You can check out Thugbirds on Twitter, Hatch Labs, check them out.
You can find me on Twitter at TechnoTechKid or on Discord as CryptoKid420.
You can find me on Twitter, the most complicated handle ever, from my junior year of college, at _Nighthawk69 _. That's it. Maybe on Discord. I don't know my username.
I love that. That's awesome. So everyone, please give me a round of applause for our panelists today. And thank you for coming. Thank you.